Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Today I'm going to go right into the reading of Caitanya-caritämrta because we're coming up to such a sweet part of the Caitanya-caritämrta. And I want to have as much time to read today as possible. So, Jai Jai, Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we've reached the Ädi-lilä, third chapter, and Krishna has gone back to the spiritual world after his pastimes on earth, and he's thinking about coming back to the earth and delivering love for himself, which has never been done before in this way. So now he's talking to himself, basically. We begin with text 20. Chapter 3, Ädi-lilä. 20. Anyway, we'll do 19 because that's what our trustee Abhaya has put in. No, 19 is too much in the middle. I said 19 yesterday. So I'll have him, he'll change it. We'll start from text 20. I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of devotional service. Text 20. I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. Purport. When one associates with a pure devotee, one becomes so elevated that he does not aspire even for sarshti, sarupya, samipya, or salokya, because he feels that such liberation is a kind of sense gratification. Pure devotees do not ask anything from the Lord for their personal benefit. Even if offered personal benefits, pure devotees do not accept them, because their only desire is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by transcendental loving service. No one but the Lord Himself can teach this highest form of devotional service. Therefore, when the Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, the system of worship recommended in this age, He also distributed the process of devotional service performed on the platform of transcendental spontaneous love. To teach the highest principles of spiritual life, the Lord Himself appeared as a devotee in the form of Lord Chaitanya. So I'd like to repeat this again. No one but the Lord Himself can teach this highest form of devotional service. Therefore, when the Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, the system of worship recommended for this age, He also distributed the process of devotional service performed on the platform of transcendental spontaneous love. What this means is that every Kali Yuga there is an incarnation or an expansion of Krishna, the Yuga avatar, who starts the Yuga Dharma, chants the Hare Krishna mantra and starts the Yuga Dharma. But he doesn't, at the same time, distribute the process of devotional service in spontaneous love. So that's the difference between Lord Chaitanya in this particular 28th Divya Yuga of the this lifetime of Brahma in the Vivaswata Manu era, and the normal Yuga avatar that comes in the other Kali Yugas. Very important point. Text 21. Unless one practices devotional service himself, he cannot teach it to others. This conclusion is indeed confirmed throughout the Gita and the Bhagavatam. And here we have another verse of the Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shijamyaham. This is text 22. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. Purport. Text 22 and 23 were spoken by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 4:7 and 8. Text 24 and 25, which follow, are also from the Bhagavad Gita 3:24 and 3:21. Utside yurime loka na kuryam karmachedaham sankarasya chakartasyam upahanyam ima prajaha. If I did not show the proper principles of religion, all these worlds would fall into ruin. I would be the cause of unwanted population and would spoil all these living beings. 25. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tadeva tado janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Whatever actions a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. 26. My plenary portions can establish the principles of religion for each age. No one but me, however, can bestow the kind of loving service performed by the residents of Braja. 27. There may be many all-auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who, other than Lord Sri Krishna, can bestow love of God upon the surrendered souls? Purport. This quotation from the writings of Bilva Mangal Thakur is found in the Lagu Bhagavatamrita 1.5.37. Text 28. Therefore, in the company of my devotees, I shall appear on earth and perform various colorful pastimes. 29. Thinking thus, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna himself descended at Nadia early in the age of Kali. Purport. The Pratama Sandhya is the beginning of the age. According to astronomical calculation, the age is divided into 12 parts. The first of these 12 divisions is known as the Pratama Sandhya. The Pratama Sandhya and Shesha Sandhya, the last division of the preceding age, form the junction of the two ages. According to Surya Siddhanta, the Pratama Sandhya of Kali Yuga lasts 36,000 solar years. Lord Chaitanya appeared in the Pratama Sandhya after 4,586 solar years of Kali Yuga had passed. Text 30. Thus, the lion-like Lord Chaitanya has appeared in Navadvip. He has the shoulders of a lion, the powers of a lion, and the loud voice of a lion. 31. May that lion be seated in the core of the heart of every living being. Thus, with his resounding roar, may he drive away one's elephantine vices. 32. In his early pastimes, he is known as Vishwambar because he floods the world with the nectar of devotion and thus saves the living beings. 33. The verbal root dubrin, which is the root of the word Vishwambar, indicates nourishing and maintaining. He, Lord Chaitanya, nourishes and maintains the three worlds by distributing love of God. 34. In his later pastimes, he is known as Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He blesses the whole world by teaching about the name and fame of Lord Sri Krishna. Purport. Lord Chaitanya remained a householder only until his 24th year had passed. Then he entered the renounced order and remained manifest in this material world until his 48th year. Therefore, his Shesha-lila, or the final portion of his activities, lasted 24 years. Some so-called Vaishnavas say that the renounced order of life was not accepted in the Vaishnava Sampradaya, or disciplic succession, until Lord Chaitanya. This is not a very intelligent proposition. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the sannyas order from Sripad Keshava Bharati, who belonged to the Shankara sect, which approves of only 10 names for sannyasis. Long before the advent of Sripad Shankaracharya, however, the sannyas order existed in the Vaishnava line of Vishnu Swami. In the Vishnu Swami Vaishnava Sampradaya, there are 10 different kinds of sannyas names, and 108 different names for sannyasis who accept the Tridanda, the triple staff of sannyas. This is approved by the Vedic rules. Therefore, Vaishnava sannyas was existent even before the appearance of Shankaracharya, although those who know nothing about Vaishnava sannyas unnecessarily declare that there is no sannyas in the Vaishnava Sampradaya. During the time of Lord Chaitanya, the influence of Shankaracharya in society was very strong. People thought that one could accept sannyas only in the disciplic succession of Shankaracharya. Lord Chaitanya could have performed his missionary activities as a householder, but he found householder life an obstruction to his mission. Therefore, he decided to accept the renounced order, sannyas. Since his acceptance of sannyas was also designed to attract public attention, Lord Chaitanya, not wishing to disturb the social convention, took the renounced order of life from a sannyasi in the disciplic succession of Shankaracharya, although sannyas was also sanctioned in the Vaishnava Sampradaya. In the Shankara Sampradaya, there are 10 different names awarded to sannyasis. 1. Tirtha, 2. Ashrama, 3. Vana, 4. Aranya, 5. Giri, 6. Parvata, 7. Sagara, 8. Saraswati, 9. Bharati, and 10. Puri. Before one enters sannyas, he has one of the various names for a brahmachari, the assistant to a sannyasi. Sannyasis with the titles Tirtha and Ashrama generally stay at Dwarka, and their brahmachari name is Swarup. Those known by the names Vana and Aranya stay at Purushottama or Jagannath Puri, and their brahmachari name is Prakash. Those with the names Giri, Parvata, and Sagara generally stay at Barikashram, and their brahmachari name is Ananda. Those with the titles Saraswati, Bharati, and Puri usually live at Sringeri in South India, and their brahmachari name is Chaitanya. Sripad Shankaracharya established 4 monasteries in India in the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. And he enthused them to force, and he entrusted them, excuse me, and he entrusted them to 4 sannyasis who were his disciples. Now there are hundreds of branch monasteries under these 4 principal monasteries, and although there is an official symmetry among them, there are many differences in their dealings. The 4 different sects of these monasteries are known as Anandadwara, Bogadwara, Kitivara, Bhumivara, and in the course of time, they have developed different ideas and different slogans. According to the regulation of a disciplic succession, one who wishes to enter the renounced order in Shankara sect must first be trained as a brahmachari under a bona fide sannyasi. The brahmachari's name is ascertained according to the group to which the sannyasi belongs. Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyas from Keshava Bharati. When he first approached Keshava Bharati, he was accepted as a brahmachari with the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmachari. After he took sannyas, he preferred to keep the name Krishna Chaitanya. The great authorities in the disciplic succession had not offered to explain why Lord Chaitanya refused to take the name Bharati after he took sannyas from a Bharati, until Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj volunteered the explanation that because a sannyasi in the Shankara Sampradaya thinks that he has become the supreme, Lord Chaitanya, wanting to avoid such a misconception, kept the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya, placing himself as an eternal servitor. A brahmachari is supposed to serve the spiritual master. Therefore, he did not negate that relationship of servitude to his spiritual master. Accepting such a position is favorable for the relationship between the disciple and the spiritual master. The authentic biographies also mention that Lord Chaitanya accepted the danda, rod, and begging pot, symbolic of the sannyas order, at the time he took sannyas. Text 35. Knowing him, Lord Chaitanya, to be the incarnation for Kali Yuga, Garga Muni, during the name ceremony of Krishna, predicted his appearance. 36. This boy, Krishna, has 3 other colors: white, white, red, and yellow. This boy Krishna has 3 other colors, white, red, and yellow, as he appears in different ages. Now he has appeared in a transcendental blackish color. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.13. Text 37. White, red, and yellow. These are the 3 bodily lusters that the Lord, the husband of the goddess of fortune, assumes in the age of Satya, Treta, and Kali, respectively. Text 38. Now in the Dwapara Yuga, the Lord has descended in a blackish hue. This is the essence of the statements in the Puranas and other Vedic literatures with reference to the context. Text 39. In the Dwapara Yuga, the personality of Godhead appears in a blackish hue. He is dressed in yellow, he holds his own weapons, and he is decorated with the Kaustuba jewel and marks of Shrivats. This is how his symptoms are described. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.27, spoken by Saint Karabhajan, one of the 9 royal mystics who explained to King Nimi the different features of the Lord in different ages. Text 40. The religious practice for the age of Kali is to broadcast the glories of the holy name. Only for this purpose has the Lord, in a yellow color, descended as Lord Chaitanya. Purport. In this age of Kali, the practical system of religion for everyone is the chanting of the name of Godhead. This was introduced in the age by Lord Chaitanya. Bhakti Yoga actually begins with the chanting of the holy name, as confirmed by Madhvacharya in his commentary on the Mundaka Upanishad. He quotes this verse from the Narayana Samhita. Dwapariyar Janayar Vishnu Pancharatrais tu Kevalahi Kalo tu Nama Matrena Pujyate Bhagavan Harihi. In the Dwapara Yuga, people should worship Lord Vishnu only by the regulative principles of the Narada Pancharatra and other such authorized books. In the age of Kali, however, people should simply chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Hare Krishna mantra is specifically mentioned in many Upanishads, such as the Kali Santarana Upanishad, where it is said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti sho dashakam nam Kali kalmash nashanam natak parataroi paya natak parataropaya sarvavedeshu drishyate. After searching through all the Vedic literature, one cannot find a method of religion more sublime for this age than the chanting of the Hare Krishna. Text 41. The luster of his expansive body resembles molten gold. The deep sound of his voice conquers the thundering of newly assembled clouds. 42. One who measures 4 cubits in height and in breadth by his own hand is celebrated as a great personality. Such a person is called Nyagrodha Parimandala. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who personifies all good qualities, has the body of a Nyagrodha Parimandala. Purport. No one other than the Supreme Lord Himself, who is engaged the conditioned souls by His own illusory energy, can possess these bodily features. These features certainly indicate an incarnation of Vishnu and no one else. Text 44. His arms are long enough to reach his knees. His eyes are just like lotus flowers. His nose is like a sesame flower, and his face is as beautiful as the moon. 45. He is peaceful, self-controlled, and fully devoted to the transcendental service of Lord Sri Krishna. He is affectionate toward his devotees, he is gentle, and he is equally disposed toward all living beings. He is decorated with sandalwood bangles and armlets, and anointed with the pulp of sandalwood. He especially wears these decorations to dance in Sri Krishna Sankirtan. 47. Recording all these qualities of Lord Chaitanya, the sage Vaishampayana included his name in the Vishnu Sahasranam. I'll read that again. Recording all these qualities of Lord Chaitanya, the sage Vaishampayana included his name in the Vishnu Sahasranama. Text 48. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya have two divisions: the early pastimes, Ädi-lilä, and the later pastimes, Shesha-lilā. He has 4 names in each of these 2 leelas. Text 49. Suvarna Varno Hemango, Barangash, Chandanan Gadi, Sanyasa Krich Chamak Chanto, Nishta Shanti Parayanaha. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyas order, and he is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. Purport. This is a verse from the Mahabharata, Dana Dharma, Vishnu Sahasranama Stotra. In his commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranama, called the Namartha Shuddha, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana commenting upon this verse, asserts that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to the evidence of the Upanishads. He explains that Suvarna Varna means a golden complexion. He also quotes the Vedic injunction, Yada Pashyak Pashyate Rukmavarnam Kartardam Isham Purusham Brahmayonim, Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.3. Rukmavarnam Kartardam Isham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as having a complexion the color of molten gold. Purusham means the Supreme Lord, and Brahmayonim indicates that he is also the Supreme Brahman. This evidence too proves that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Another meaning of the description of the Lord as having a golden hue is that Lord Chaitanya's personality is as fascinating as gold is attractive. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana has explained that the word Varanga means exquisitely beautiful. Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyas, leaving aside his householder life to preach his mission. He has equanimity in different senses. First, he describes the confidential truth of the personality of Godhead, and second, he satisfies everyone by knowledge and attachment to Krishna. He is peaceful because he renounces all topics not related to the service of Krishna. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana has explained that the word Nishta indicates his being rigidly fixed in chanting the holy name of Sri Krishna. Lord Chaitanya subdued all disturbing opponents of devotional service, especially the monists who were actually averse to the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. Text 50. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is repeatedly and clearly said that the essence of religion in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. 51. O King, in this way people of Dwapara Yuga worshipped the Lord of the universe. In Kali Yuga, they also worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the regulations of the revealed scriptures. Kindly now hear of that from me. Purport. This verse is spoken by Saint Caravaggio in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.31. And here comes 52. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayaya Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Purport. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this verse in his commentary on the Bhagavatam, known as Kramasandarbha, wherein he says that Lord Krishna also appears with a golden complexion. That golden Lord Krishna is Lord Chaitanya, who is worshipped by intelligent men in this age. That is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Garga Muni, who said that although the child Krishna was blackish, he also appeared in 3 other colors, red, white, and yellow. He exhibited his white and red complexions in the Satya and Treta ages respectively. He did not exhibit the remaining color, yellow gold, until he appeared as Lord Chaitanya, who is known as Gaura Hari. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna Varnam means Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Varna and Krishna Chaitanya are equivalent. The name Krishna appears with both Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Krishna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he always engages in describing Krishna and thus enjoys transcendental bliss by chanting and remembering his name and form. Lord Krishna himself appears as Lord Chaitanya to preach the highest gospel. Lord Chaitanya always chants the holy name of Krishna and describes it also. And because he is Krishna himself, whoever meets him will automatically chant the holy name of Krishna and later describe it to others. He injects one with transcendental Krishna consciousness, which merges the chanter in transcendental bliss. In all respects, therefore, he appears before everyone as Krishna, either by personality or by sound. Simply by seeing Lord Chaitanya, one at once remembers Lord Krishna. One may therefore accept him as Vishnu Tattva, in other words, Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Sango Pankastra Parshadam further indicates that Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. His body is always decorated with ornaments of sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. Excuse me. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all the people of the age. In other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac, but in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive figure as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra, or weapon, to subdue the demons. Because he is all-attractive, it is to be understood that all the demigods lived with him as his companions. His acts were uncommon, and his associates wonderful. When he propagated the Sankirtan movement, he attracted many great scholars and acharyas, especially in Bengal and Orissa. Lord Chaitanya is always accompanied by his best associates like Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas. Srila Jiva Goswami cites a verse from the Vedic literature which says that there is no necessity of performing sacrificial demonstrations or ceremonial functions. He comments that instead of engaging in such external, pompous exhibitions, all people, regardless of caste, color, or creed, can assemble together and chant Hare Krishna to worship Lord Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishnam, indicates that prominence should be given to the name of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya taught Krishna consciousness and chanted the name of Krishna. Therefore, to worship Lord Chaitanya, everyone should together chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To propagate worship in churches, temples, or mosques is not possible because people have lost interest in that. But anywhere and everywhere, people can chant Hare Krishna. Thus, worshipping Lord Chaitanya, they can perform the highest activity and fulfill the highest religious purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a famous disciple of Lord Chaitanya, said, "The principle of transcendental devotional service having been lost, Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared in order to deliver again the process of devotion. He is so kind that he is distributing love of Krishna. Everyone should be attracted more and more to his lotus feet, as humming bees are attracted to a lotus flower." Text 53. Dear brothers, my dear brothers, please hear all these glories of Lord Chaitanya. This verse clearly summarizes his activities and characteristics. 54. The two syllables Krishna are always in his mouth, or he constantly describes Krishna with great pleasure. 55. These are two meanings of the word Krishna Varna. Indeed, nothing else but Krishna issues from his mouth. If someone tries to describe him as being of blackish complexion, the next adjective, Tvisha Akrishnam, immediately restricts him. 57. His complexion is certainly not blackish. Indeed, his not being blackish indicates that his complexion is yellow. This is a beautiful verse. The next verse is verse 58. This is from Rupa Goswami. I'm sorry that my voice is not quite here today, but I'll try to chant this beautiful verse as best I can. Kalau yam vidbangsa sputam abhijayate dyuti barad akrishnangam krishnam makavidibir utkirtanamayahi upasyam cha prahur yamakila chaturta shamajusham sadevas chaitanya-caritämrta atitaram nat kripayatu. Sorry. Such a beautiful verse. I'll give it one more go. Kalo yam vidbangsa sputam abhiyanjante juti padad akrishnangam krishnam makavidibir utkirtanamayahi upasyam cha prahur yam akila chaturashramajusham sadevas Sudeva Caitanya-caritämrta na kripayatu. By performing the sacrifice of congregational chanting of the holy name, learned scholars in the age of Kali worship Lord Krishna, who is now non-blackish because of the great upsurge of the feelings of Srimati Radharani. He is the only worshipable deity for the Paramahamsas, who have attained the highest stage of the fourth order, sannyas. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, show us His great causeless mercy. Purport. This verse is Dvitiya Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, 1 from the Stavamala of Srila Rupa Goswami. Text 59. One can vividly see his glowing complexion of molten gold, which dispels the darkness of ignorance. 60. The sinful life of the living beings results from ignorance. To destroy that ignorance, he has brought various weapons, such as his plenary associates, his devotees, and the holy name. 61. The greatest ignorance consists of activities, whether religious or irreligious, that are opposed to devotional service. They are to be known as sins, kalmasha. 62. Raising his arms, chanting the holy name, and looking upon all with deep love, he drives away all sins and floods everyone with love of Godhead. Text 63. Smitaloka shokam harati jagatam yasya parito giram tu pradam ba kushalapatilim palavyati padalamba kimva pranayati nahi prema nivaham satevas Caitanya-caritämrta na kripayatu. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bestow His causeless mercy upon us. His smiling glance at once drives away all the bereavements of the world, and His very words enliven the auspicious creepers of devotion by expanding their leaves. Taking shelter of His lotus feet invokes transcendental love of God at once. Purport. This verse is Dvitiya Sri Caitanya-caritämrta 8 from the Stavamala of Srila Rupa Goswami. So I'm going to stop here because I've lost my voice. I'm so sorry. I love these verses and I love this book more than life itself. But right now, I've lost my voice. I've been working very hard all day. So I'm going to stop here and turn the nectar over to all of you out there in cyberspace. If you have some reflection, something to share with us, I'll do my best to hear attentively.
There's a question and reflection from Gauranga Gopal Das.
Gauranga Gopal Das, Hare Krishna.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, it is a real joy to hear you speak the Caitanya-caritämrta every day, and to witness you rejoice every time you hear something that amazes you. Then share your realization of it with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being there And I might just say that I'm very encouraged. I'm very, very encouraged. I get encouraged when I hear this because, first of all, Srila Prabhupada is my life and soul, and I want to hear from him more than anything else in the world. But second of all, this literature, this Caitanya-caritämrta especially, is none different than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is the most loving and magnanimous form of Krishna. And as we've just heard, if we actually surrender to him, and to surrender to him means to want to give Krishna consciousness to others more than anything. And from that, you get love of God. And then with that love of God, you're propelled deeper, almost forced deeper into understanding of Radha and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and his associates, his loving associates, which we will get to as this wonderful literature unfolds.
Yes, a couple questions here. I'll read the first one.
This is from Gopal?
Gauranga Gopal.
Gauranga
Yes.
Gopal.
He says, my question is about the quality of one's hearing. Oftentimes when I listen to lectures or your readings, I will be busy performing other services, driving here and there, carrying things, cleaning ashram or temple, and so on. Also, regularly I will pause the flow of the recording to interact as part of my service with other people. Am I committing offenses to the speaker by not giving my full attention to him? It does feel sometimes that I can focus better while my body is externally engaged.
Well, I wouldn't say that what you're doing is offensive because you're engaged in devotional service. In other words, when you do turn your attention away, you're doing something for Krishna. So that's not exactly offensive. At the same time, I think that hearing with rapt attention is the topmost quality of hearing. We should be able to organize our time in such a way that when we chant our rounds and when we sit down to hear the Shastra, then the other things should be put aside and we should just hear deeply with full attention. You know, if you can do that, that would be very good. I think that would increase the taste. It would increase your taste. If you can't, because of the nature of your services and the timing of the reading and whatever things like that, then I don't think it's offensive.
Krishna Katha Das.
Well, Hare Krishna, Krishna Katha. Welcome aboard.
He had quoted text 30 and 31. He has the shoulders of a lion, the powers of a lion, and the loud voice of a lion. May that lion be seated in the core of the heart of every living being. Thus with his resounding roar, may he drive away one's elephantine vices.
This is the supreme benediction.
And then he repeats elephantine vices.
Yeah. Prabhupada used to sometimes trying to clean the heart of the conditioned soul like trying to clean coal with water. Because it's so, the habits, conditioned habits are so deeply intertwined with the body and the subtle body and gross bodies. Therefore, it's not so easy. It is easy. The actual process of hearing about Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna is very easy. But it's our conditioned mind that interferes, distracts us from the sound and our attention. As Gauranga Gopal was just saying, the nature of our age is we just are active all the time. And it's hard for us to set aside time just to hear. That's why Prabhupada organized our spiritual lives in such a way as in the first thing in the morning when we get up, we just hear together. And if you're able to do that, chant the prayers that we pray, chant your rounds, hear the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam every morning before we do anything else. Then, while we're doing those other services, our minds will be more joyful. We'll be able to remember Krishna more while we're doing our activities. Prabhupada said it's not wrong to do your activities, especially in relationship to devotional service, pure devotional service. But he used to liken the remembrance of Krishna while we're doing our services to a big businessman who's sitting in his office, doing so many intense activities to maintain his business, to manage his business, but he keeps pictures of his wife and children, who he's working for, and that's what it's all about in the material world. And he always looks there and he remembers them. Periodically he looks and it causes him to have the remembrance of what he's doing, why he's doing it. So we can dovetail that same, tendency, in remembering Krishna whenever we are doing what we're doing. Because if we can come to the point of remembering that we're doing it for Krishna, whatever we're doing, then you become fixed in Krishna consciousness. And then there's no difference between chanting and hearing and doing service and everything. It's the consciousness that we do it in. So the intensity of our hearing and chanting brings us to a consciousness that allows us to remember Krishna and why we're doing it when we're doing other things, other services, and even the activities that we have to do, to work. Everyone has to work, Krishna says in the Gita, to maintain his body and soul together. Everyone. No one can avoid working in some way or another. It's the nature, it's the law of nature. Manmana baba mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. It's actually the only thing that Krishna actually asks us to do. But he doesn't tell us to be inactive. He tells Arjuna to fight. Now fight. Fight for me. I want to change the sovereignty of the earth, from demoniac to divine, for the benefit of the whole world. So now, get up and fight for me, and remembering me at the same time. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Mam anusmara yudhyacha means remember me and fight. Of course, we're not fighters in that sense. We're not warriors, but we are personalities who need to do things to maintain ourselves, our families, and our own bodies and souls together. So do that, but think of Krishna. You'll get further doing that than just trying to sit artificially in the corner and just chant Hare Krishna while our mind goes crazy thinking of sense gratification. Okay, next.
Sarva Prabhu.
Hey Sarva, Haribol.
He says, Hare Krishna, thanks for your dedicated example.
I wish I had a voice, Sarva. My voice is going away this afternoon.
He says, since Keshav Bharati Swami and Lord Chaitanya took sannyas in Shankaracharya's line, is it possible that Madhavendra Puri and others may have also taken sannyas in that line also.
No. Madhavendra Puri took sannyas from in the Madhvacharya line. Simple answer. It is not possible. But Lord Chaitanya, in his consciousness, what really happened was this, that Keshav Bharati was in the line of Shankaracharya, but spiritually he was, some say Sandipani Muni. So, before Lord Chaitanya took the mantra from Keshava Bharati, he said the mantra to Keshava Bharati and initiated him. So Keshava Bharati was actually on the platform of a Vaishnava sannyasi before he gave the mantra to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur. So he made sure that Keshava Bharati was pure before he got the mantra from him. But he still took on the external trappings of a Shankarite. He carried a danda, not a tree danda, but a solid danda. And then after that, and while he was on his way to Puri, to settle in Jagannath Puri, on the way, Lord Nityananda broke his danda and threw it in the river, danda bhagna. Lord Chaitanya got very upset and went head to Jagannath Puri. And he said, "You are all disturbing my activities." And Lord Nityananda didn't even flinch. He said, you don't need to take sannyas. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're above all these rules and regulations. You don't need to take sannyas. We don't accept you like that. So then after that, he didn't carry a danda anymore. So Lord Chaitanya is above sannyas. He's above all the varnas and ashrams. He's in another world. As we've heard in this wonderful chapter, how the physical features of Lord Chaitanya were different than anyone else's. Only Krishna could have features like he did. 7 feet 6 inches tall. 7 feet 6 inches. He'd be one of the tallest NBA players in the world. You know how it is? When I was going to UCLA, Lou Alcindor was the big guy then, before he turned Chardim Jabbar, I can't remember his name now. But anyway, and I remember I was walking down on the campus, and all of a sudden he came up beside me, and I was kind of like practically a little bit above his belt, practically, or it seemed like it, maybe not that. And 2 of his steps were like 10 of my steps, Huge, just huge, and he had an afro on top of that, so he was about 7'6". And Lord Chaitanya's arms went down to his knees. So if you're 7'6", and your arms go down to your knees, when you put your hands in the air, you can see it for like miles. It's so tall. It's like a 2-story building, practically. So, yeah, everything that he did was not ordinary, including take sannyas from. But he did take the dress of a Shankara sannyasi in order to not disturb, as it says what we just read, not to disturb the social order. Even when he was living in Puri, and when Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das and Haridas Thakur were there living, that they didn't go to the temple because they, of course, Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family, and Rupa and Sanatan had been more or less, what's the word? Removed from the Brahmana community, the Hindu community, and therefore they considered themselves very fallen from having associated intimately with the Muslims. But but they didn't feel bad about it. And there's a very nice purport in which Srila Prabhupada said that we shouldn't feel bad, about not being let into the temple of Jagannath, And they used to worship the chakra on the temple. And the Lord came out himself to visit them every day and give them prasadam and talk to them and relish their association. So they didn't miss anything. So Lord Chaitanya came to break the bonds of ritualistic activity and smarta principles and Mayavad philosophy. He came to just turn it upside down, and he did. But he didn't have to. He did, philosophically. He converted the greatest philosophers in India, practically. But in terms of the masses, he would just walk around and people would fall on the ground in full love of God just by looking at him or just by hearing his kirtan. So we have to take all things into consideration when considering how he took sannyas and what it meant. Okay?
Next, something from Gopal Roy Das.
Gopal Roy, when will I get to see you again? That's the question. That's the real question.
He says, quote, hearing in association of devotees, unquote, is this principle fulfilled by reading Srila Prabhupada's purports? Or is it that we get even more benefit hearing with other devotees? If so, what benefits accrue from hearing with other devotees?
I just got distracted by something that came onto my screen, a message. So please repeat it again. I'm sorry. Forgive me for that.
He says, quote, hearing in association of devotees, unquote. Is this principle fulfilled by reading Srila Prabhupada's purports? Or is it that we get even more benefit hearing with other devotees? If so, what benefits accrue from hearing with other devotees?
It's like a magnifying glass. It's like seeing things. This is the Yuga Dharma. It's called Sankirtan. Kirtan means the chanting, glorifying, and Sankirtan means together. So we get the benefit of the mercy of all the Vaishnavas. We get the mercy of the chanting together and hearing together. It amplifies everything. Everybody knows it. It's obvious. Don't you feel kind of more ecstatic when you're here in the association of a room full of devotees and then listen to the glorifications? When we have our Vyasa Puja ceremonies, or Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja especially, when we sit down and glorify him and everybody hears how other people feel, what does that do? It amplifies the ecstasy. But that doesn't mean that if you're just by yourself and chanting, that you're not getting the full mercy also. You are. But it's anandam buddhi vardhanam.
There's something from Braj Vallabha.
From Braj Vallabha. I'm going to check and make sure I got that just after we stop this reading.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I noticed when tuning into these sessions, I feel a sense of relief from my mind, and so on. This is not something I otherwise experience. Does this mean the transcendental sound is properly penetrating my ear holes?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. Braj Balava will appreciate this because he's a funny person. Braj Balava, I heard once Prabhupada explain what causeless mercy means, right? And he said, causeless mercy means you've got $1,000 worth of bills, notes in your hand, and you're trying to give it to somebody and they don't want it. So you just pull their pocket and you shove it in, and then you shove it, button it up, and then send them on their way. That's called causeless mercy. Someone's stupid enough, not to take it, but you give it to him anyway. That's called causeless mercy. I'm not trying to say that you're stupid. You're not stupid, but it's a fact. It's a fact that that's how we receive the mercy.
Something from Rati Manjari.
Hey Rati, Haribol.
She says, please accept my humble obeisances. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. What an especially nectarian reading tonight. It was all about Lord Chaitanya personally. I am also often busy during your reading, which says a lot about my level of hearing. But there was one thing which caught my attention tonight, and which I appreciated from the purport of verse 52. Quote, Lord Chaitanya always chants the holy name of Krishna, and describes it also, and because he is Krishna himself, whoever meets him will automatically chant the holy name of Krishna, and later describe it to others. End quote. It seems that passing on the mercy and preaching Krishna's glories is deeply embedded in the way Lord Krishna Chaitanya desires to disseminate his mercy. He really wants to get everybody involved in the process and enable us to have positive exchanges with one another. So nice.
Yes, and he relishes. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, and he comes to relish this himself. He comes to relish himself, his devotees glorifying him together. And then he himself has his personal desires, which we will hear about in the next chapter, in chapter 4. But he shows by his own personal example how to get there by the process of trying to give Krishna to others, try to deliver people who are in ignorance, who are in illusion, whose minds and hearts are spoiled by the impersonal philosophy that is now surrendering, going everywhere, permeating, I guess is the word, the earth in Kali Yuga. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go, because first of all, I'm losing my voice, and I need to keep it. And second of all, I have something important I have to do right now, and I'm a little overwhelmed with the different amount of reading and digesting I have to do of material before I have the next Zoom meeting with the RRP, the panel that I've been put on to analyze the editing of Srila Prabhupada's books and verify. So I have to go now. Please forgive me. It did pretty good. We're 20 minutes after 8. hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. So again and again, and yet again, I thank all of you for coming along on this ride to hear the Caitanya-caritämrta cover to cover with other devotees in a way that we get through it in a quicker way than we would just hearing one verse a day. And this is special mercy. So thank you very much for joining. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. The Panchatattva ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. I'll see you all tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, same time, same place, right here in the live studios in the haven of Hythe. Hare Krishna.